Okay, so good morning, everyone. What I want to do is to look at this parsha really is. I'm always say that, but this parsha really is a massive parsha. It's got so much in it, and it does really make it quite difficult to choose what to do it on. But what I do want to look at is this pasuk at the beginning of the fourth aliyah. At the beginning of the fourth aliyah, so the pasuk says, "Banim atem l'Adonai Elohech." You are the sons, the children of Hashem. Lo titgoredu. You should not titgoredu. So titgoredu is the word we're going to have to look at. And we'll understand what it means. I'm just going to and you mustn't like make a karcha. Karcha is like shave yourself so that you have no hair between your eyes, because of a dead person, because you're in some type of mourning process. So Rashi says, Lo titgoredu. Says what it means is, on the most simple level, is don't cut yourself. Don't make a cutting or some type of incision or something of that nature in your flesh. I'll mate because of it, for a person who's passed away. Like the Emorim do. The Emorim would when a person passed away, they would slash themselves. They would make some type of cut in their flesh as a permanent marker for the a reminder or something of that nature of the fact that the person has passed away. Why shouldn't you do that? Because because we are the children of Hamakom, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because it's appropriate as the sons or the children of Hamakom, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the King of the world. Therefore, we are the princes and princesses of the world, and it's not appropriate for us to have all cuts and scars all over us because of people that have passed away. Because it's appropriate that we look good. So we're looking good because it fits in with the image that we're supposed to be carrying as these children of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Da'at Kainim says that why not? Why? So what? So why? The fact that we are the children of Hamakom, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so why does that mean that we shouldn't go through this process of somehow permanent or making permanent this loss within our flesh, so we can always see it, we can have a permanent reminder of it? So he says the following, which I think is quite an insightful idea. You are the children of Hashem. And so therefore, if your flesh and blood parent passes away, you mustn't make any incisions on your flesh. Because even though the physical parent has passed away, it doesn't leave us in a state of being a yatum, being an orphan. Why? Because we always have a father. Shehu chai v'kayam yitbarach, and that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu yitbarach, who is chai v'kayam. He's always there. V'yitbarach shemo aval ha'akum, but the idol worshippers, k'shemeit aviv yesh lo litgodeid, they should make an incision. Why? She'ein lo od av, they don't have the father anymore. Ki im eitzov avanoi she'ein bam mo'il. He says because rather what when the idol worshipper passes on into another world, all that's left are the bones and the flesh of this person. There's nothing. Way he wants to seem to imply is that there's no long-lasting extent of that neshama because of the idol worshipping, and that therefore there's nothing to feel that there's something still that you have to hold on to. Whereas we as Am Yisrael, we are banim atem l'Hashem Elokeichem. We always have to remember that we have a dual parent space. The one space is our parents, our physical parents, but we know that the Gemara tells us that there are three parties in the creation of a child, and that's the male, the female, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Since HaKadosh Baruch Hu is part of that, therefore we have to be constantly aware of that, specifically when it comes to the passing of a parent, that it's not the end of the world, because we still have we still have hamakom. So it's interesting. What do we still have? So it seems, I think it goes back to the role of what a parent may be. And that is that a parent is a support. It's a place to turn to in times of difficulty. It's a space where the parent knows a child more than anyone else could possibly know that child. And therefore, we need to realize that's part of the reason why we mourn so much. Obviously, the loss of the parent, but also the loss of everything that comes with the parent. But says the Das Akanim, we need to remember that that even during that difficult time, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still present. The Hemek Davar says that we need to realize that in this pasuk there are two inferences, because the concept of Lord Tidgodedu, which is making this incision in your flesh, is also brought down in the Gemara in another place to mean something else. And what does it also mean in the other place? So there, the Gemara says, Lord Tidgodedu, that you mustn't make agudot. Lo ta'asu agudot. Don't make different groupings within your community. The question is, what's that got to do with anything? How do you get that out of this pasuk? And so comes along the kliyakar, that's the Emek Davar, the Netziv. Sorry, the Emek Davar. The Netziv says the following. He says, since you are the children of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and now he moves completely out of the space of death, because he's saying once we already recognize ourselves as the children of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and like Rashi said, it's inappropriate for us to be making some type of incisions and those permanent marks, because we have to present ourselves as na'im, as nice, so the optic is correct. Comes along the Emek Davar, and he says that it's also ein ra'ui yitra'eh shenifradim atem. So it's not appropriate that you're seen to be separate. It's not appropriate that we, as the Jewish people, Lord Tidgodedu, we're seen as that they're always like machlokas amongst them. And specifically, he says that where it manifests itself most profoundly is in our minhagim. Obviously, there's arguments amongst the Jewish people, but he's talking much more on a communal level, because it says that when it says that you mustn't do to make different groupings, part of it is that you shouldn't have different batei din, but different places of specific halachic authority in the same city, which, by the way, is one of the great milers, the great attributes of the Johannesburg Jewish community, is that we only have one Beis Din, and that we only have one real kashrus department, and we only have all of those things. I'm not going into the politic around it, but it is a big miler, because it means that as a community in general, we maintain a certain level of unity. But comes along the Netziv, and he says that teva habanim liyot holchim b'derech echad. It's the way of children of one parent to go, at least in a similar way. However, when you have two batei dinim, or two different places of authority, so then it's quite you can't really see their unity, you can't see the togetherness, and so therefore, what we have to make sure is that in the one place, if we live in one place, we should try and have one space of authority. But if we live in different places, then we can have different minhagim, and that's how the Shulchan Aruch kind of got created in the way that we have it today. You had Rav Yosef Karo writing for the Sfaradim, then you have the Ramah writing for the Ashkenazim. But the incredible part is, in order to avoid a lot to go to do, is that it's all in one book. You have Ashkenazi and Sfaradi Psak all written together, and as such, it makes sure that we are always able to connect with one central source in one way or another. So says the Kliyakar says, Lefisha umot mitztarim kedin al davar aved asher halech v'lo yashuv. He says, well, now we're going back in the Kliyakar speaks about death, and he says, that the nations of the world, they bother a lot on something that gets destroyed, something that goes asher halech v'lo yashuv, which goes and never comes back. But you, Bnei Yisrael, lo came. Why? Because you know what? HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose us to be his special treasure. V'chol skulat melachim hanu davar shemachnisim la'ortza. He says, and the special treasure of the king is the thing that the king will always put back into his treasure chest. Kacha kadosh baruch hu machnis la'ortza. So too, the Ribono Shel Olam takes back and puts back into his special treasures. Nefashot hatzadikim v'atohar Torah. The souls of the great holy of the tzaddikim who are tahor, who are pure. Ve'enu davar ha'aved. And understand that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes in the Shoma, it's not a davar ha'aved, it's not something that goes and is lost forever. So why would you be so upset about something that still is in a continuum and it doesn't end? But all that's past, says the Kli Yakar, is there space in this world. But this person is eating the fruits of their labor in the Olam HaNitzchi, in the eternal world. And therefore, he says, the Gemara tells us in Shabbos, a person who sheds tears over a kosher person, over a person who was somebody who brought value into this world, which I think everybody does at the end of the day in some way. Then what? HaKadosh Baruch Hu soifranu manichim beveis kenazav. HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes those tears and he puts those tears into his special oitzar, into his special treasure chest. Why does that? Lefisha gaman afashot hem skulav oitzar al kain sham yu gam admaot beveis kenazav. He says because the tears together with the neshamas are precious to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So when a person passes on, so we understand that we cry for them and we shed the tears. And those tears are really tears that are important to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. However, that's that. That's how it needs to end. It needs to end not with tearing oneself up, but by shedding those tears, because those tears become precious, because those tears are the tears of understanding that something's been lost in this world, but to start making permanent incisions on one's flesh as a result of those things is something that we don't do because we understand that their passing from this world is not permanent. And I think that that's an important thing for us to understand, that we've got two aspects. The one aspect is the manner in which we deal with death and with loss, and understanding the way the Kli Yakar presents it, that death and loss are a space that is in this world, and then there's another world where it continues. And that's what our Father in heaven. That's why it says the way the Chazal presented that it goes to Hamakom. We know Hamakom is that word that we use. Hamakom Yenachem Etchem B'toch Sha'ar Avelei Tzor Mishnaim. It's the way we refer to Hashem when we speak to mourners. So that's one part of it. But there's another part of it, and that is the nitzchiyut, the continuation of the Jewish people as the banim, as the children of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that is that we have to maintain a certain level of unity. Lord, it's got to do that. We shouldn't do different things, like there are different customs. But for example, just on a simple level, putting on tefillin during Chol HaMoed, our Ashkenazi custom in Chutz La'aretz is to put on tefillin, whereas in Israel they don't put on tefillin. So we have some people who therefore don't put on tefillin. But it's actually brought down quite interestingly that one should be careful. One should be careful. The one is in a shul where the minhag is to put on tefillin, then one should put on tefillin, even though one's own personal minhag is not. Why? Lord has got to do in order not to create rifts. And it seems to be, if we can try and look through all of this, that it's the rifts in our connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and our connection to ourselves that make us not understand that this world in which we live in is a world that is not only this world, but it's a world which is much bigger. And therefore, when a person passes on, we need to always remember that we still have a connection to them through their neshamas in Olam Haba, in this eternal world. And specifically, we always have to understand, we always have the support of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because Banim Atem LaHashem Elokeichem, we are the children ultimately of HaKadosh Baruch Hu on high, and He will treat us as His children and make sure that we have that which we need in the world